The rain had just started when Armin realized he had forgotten his daughter's umbrella again. 8-year-old Mehak stood beside him at the bus stop, her small hand tucked into his sleeve, watching the sky turn a dull gray. Armin sighed, brushing damp hair from his forehead. Life as a single father had taught him how to juggle everything: work, school lunches, bedtime stories, but some days, the small things slipped through the cracks. Abu, it's okay, Mehak said softly, noticing his expression. I like the rain. He smiled at her, though guilt lingered. You say that now. Wait until your shoes are soaked. They stood in silence as the street grew quieter, the sound of rain tapping against the metal roof above them. That's when Armin noticed her. A woman sat at the far end of the bench, hunched forward, her shoulders trembling. At first, he thought she might just be cold. But then he heard it, quiet, broken sobs that didn't match the gentle rain. Mehak noticed too. She tugged at his sleeve. Abu, she's crying. Armin hesitated. In a city where people learn to mind their own business, approaching a stranger, especially one in distress, felt like stepping into something unpredictable. He glanced at the road, hoping the bus would arrive and spare him the decision. But it didn't. The woman lifted her face slightly, and Armin caught a glimpse of her tear-streaked cheeks. Her eyes looked lost, like someone who had run out of places to go. Before he could second-guess himself, Mehak slipped her hand out of his and took a small step forward. Beta, he whispered, but she was already walking. Children didn't carry the same fears adults did. She stopped a few feet from the woman. Auntie, are you okay? The woman looked up, startled, as if she hadn't realized anyone else existed. For a moment, she didn't respond. Then her lips trembled. I'm sorry, she said, wiping her face quickly. I didn't mean to disturb anyone. Armin stepped closer now, his protective instinct kicking in. You're not disturbing us, he said gently. Do you need help? The woman looked between him and Mehak. Something in her expression softened, like she was seeing something she hadn't seen in a long time. Then, in a voice so fragile it almost disappeared in the rain, she asked, Can you hug me? The question hung in the air. Armin froze. It was unexpected. Unusual. In another moment, another place, he might have politely declined. But there was something about the way she asked, not demanding, not strange, just desperate. He looked at Mehak. She gave him a small nod, as if to say, It's okay. Armin stepped forward slowly, giving the woman time to pull back if she wanted. But she didn't. When he gently wrapped his arms around her, she broke. Her sobs deepened, her grip tightening as though she had been holding herself together for far too long. Armin stood still, unsure at first, then steadier as he realized this wasn't about him. It was about giving someone a moment of human warmth. Mehak stood beside them, quietly watching, her small face filled with concern. After a minute, the woman pulled away, embarrassed. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I shouldn't have asked that. It's okay, Armin replied. Really? She nodded, but her hands were still shaking. Armin noticed how thin her coat was, how worn her shoes looked. Have you eaten? He asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. Armin sighed softly. There's a cafe across the street. Come with us. I can't. You can, Mehak interrupted, her voice firm in the way only a child's could be. Please. Something in that simple word made the woman pause. Then, slowly, she agreed. Inside the cafe, warmth replaced the chill of the rain. The woman sat awkwardly across from them, as if unsure she belonged there. My name is Armin, he said, breaking the silence. She hesitated. Sarah. Mehak smiled. I'm Mehak. Sarah's eyes lingered on her. You're lucky, she said quietly. Armin noticed a shift in her tone. Why do you say that? Sarah stared down at her hands. I had a daughter once. The words landed heavily. What happened? Armin asked gently. Sarah took a shaky breath. I lost everything. My husband passed away 2 years ago. After that, things just fell apart. I couldn't keep my job, couldn't keep the house. My daughter, she's with my sister now. Her voice cracked. I haven't seen her in months. Mehak reached across the table and placed her small hand over Sarah's. It was such a simple gesture, yet it made Sarah's eyes fill again. I miss her every day, Sarah whispered. Armin leaned back, processing her story. He knew what it meant to lose someone. He had buried his wife years ago, left to raise Mehak alone. He had felt that same emptiness, the kind that made even breathing feel heavy. You're not alone, he said quietly. Sarah looked at him, surprised. I don't know your whole story, Armin continued, but I know what it feels like when life doesn't go the way you planned. It doesn't mean it's over. Sarah gave a faint, broken smile. It feels like it is. Mehak shook her head. It's not. My Abu says bad days don't stay forever. Armin chuckled softly. I do say that. Something shifted in Sarah's expression, not a full change, but enough to let a little light in. Over the next hour, they talked. Not just about loss, but about small things too, favorite foods, childhood memories, silly habits. The heaviness began to lift, replaced by something gentler. When they finally stepped back out into the rain, it had softened to a drizzle. Sarah paused on the sidewalk. Thank you, she said. For everything. Armin nodded. Take care of yourself. She looked like she wanted to say more, but instead she simply turned and walked away. Weeks passed. Life returned to its routine, school runs, work, bedtime stories. But every now and then, Armin thought about Sarah, wondering where she was, whether she was okay. Then one afternoon, as he waited outside Mehak's school, he saw a familiar face. Sarah. But she looked different. Her hair was neatly tied, her clothes clean and pressed. She stood straighter, her eyes clearer. When she spotted him, her face lit up. I was hoping I'd find you here, she said, walking over. Armin smiled. You look, well. I am, she replied. After that day, something changed. I realized I couldn't keep living the way I was. I found help. Got a job at a small shop nearby. She paused, her voice softening. And I'm going to see my daughter this weekend. Mehak, who had just come out of school, ran up and hugged her without hesitation. Sarah laughed through tears. I missed this. She looked at Armin. That hug, it saved me. Armin shook his head. You saved yourself. Maybe that was true. But sometimes, all it took was one moment, one small act of kindness, to remind someone they were still worth saving. As they stood there, the sky finally cleared, sunlight breaking through the clouds. And for the first time in a long while, all three of them felt it, the quiet, steady warmth of hope.